Welcome to this message of encouragement. Today's video is kind of a rant from me because someone called the Sheriff's Department on me yesterday, and I wanted to share that with you. But before I get started, I always like to ask those of you who are watching to please remember other people in prayer. Please lift up the nation of Israel in prayer. God asks us to pray for the nation of Israel. He says that those who bless the nation of Israel will be blessed, and those who curse the nation of Israel will be cursed. So we need to lift them up, especially in this situation where they are under attack and they are trying to weed out the enemy. Also, be praying for those that are innocent and those that are actually involved, that have this hate in their heart. They need to be lifted up before God because they believe that they're doing a great service to God by trying to kill the Israelites, and we know that that's not true because the Israelites are God's chosen people. They are the Israelites are the apple of God's eye. They are His chosen people, as it is written in the Bible. So lift them up. Remember those that have lost a loved one or have lost a pet. Those that are facing surgeries, those that have recently found out they've gotten cancer or other life-threatening things going on. They need to be lifted up because prayer is powerful, and people need healings. They need help with relationships, financially. Each one of us, we all need prayer and need to be lifted up. So please pray for other people. So I wanted to talk today about a situation yesterday where someone called the Sheriff's Department on me, and not just one deputy sheriff didn't just come out. It was 4 that came out in 2 separate cars. And before I tell you what happened, I want to first say that I am a law-abiding citizen. I would never ever do anything to intentionally break man's law or God's law. And I want to read you a few scripture to tell you what I live by as far as obeying man's law. Because like I said, I am a law-abiding citizen. I do not break man's law. I value my freedom. I value my rights. And I would never do anything to jeopardize my freedom or to jeopardize the rights that I have as a citizen. I'd never do anything to jeopardize that. I just want to say that. So I want to read some scriptures before I tell you what happened. Just a few quick scriptures. Like Romans chapter 13 says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities." They're talking about man's law here. Titus chapter 3 says, "Remind the people to be subject to the rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready to do whatsoever is good, to slander no one, to be peaceful and considerate, and always be gentle toward everyone." 1 Peter chapter 2 says, "Submit yourself for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor or as the supreme authority, or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who are doing right." Romans chapter 2 says, "For it is not those who hear the law who are the righteous in God's sight, but to those who obey the law who will be declared righteous." Now I know we're talking about God's law here, but still, we're being told, if you're listening, to obey God's law, obey man's law. We're being told obey both. Don't put, say, well, I'm going to obey God's law, but I'm not going to obey any part of man's law. We can't do that. That's not what the Bible says. Just a few more scriptures. 1 Peter chapter 1 says, "As obedient children, Do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all that you do. For it is written, be holy because I am holy. So, God is telling us to do and, and behave like we're supposed to in a holy manner because we've been made holy. Hebrews chapter 13 says, have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority because they keep watch over you as those who must give an account. And the last verse I wanted to read, John chapter 14 says, and Jesus is saying this, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So, I'm just saying that, here I'm not only, I want to stress again, not only am I under obligation to obey God's commandments, I'm also, under, to obey man's law as well, which, like I said, I do. I value my freedom and my rights. I would never do or say anything to jeopardize that. So anyway, I want to go on and let you know why, 4 deputy sheriffs were called out yesterday. I'm just, really angry about that, like, so, what had happened was, most of y'all saw my post on Facebook the other night. My elderly friend is having some health issues down in Chapel Hill, so me and another relative was down there on Monday. We had to take her to the cardiologist. So once we got back, my elderly friend, she's, resting in the recliner, and the other relative that I was with is working from home. So I thought, well, I'm going to go outside. It's 84 degrees. It's, like it's going to be cold and rainy today. So I'm like, I always take my rifle with me. I'm like, I'm going to go shoot my rifle. Now, my elderly friend lives out in the county. She lives in the Chapel Hill area, but she is out in the county. Living out in the county has its perks, which means that you can go out and shoot, your weapons. You can do target shooting. And so, I went out and I took my rifle and I was shooting up against an embankment. I'm an expert shooter. I'm extremely safe. I take, safety, it's extremely important. Safety. I just, I don't take shortcuts with safety. It is a top priority. Safety, safety, safety. Gun safety, other safety. Making sure nobody's around. And so anyway, so I went out, by myself. I normally don't go shoot by myself, but like I said, the person that was with me, she was sitting right there, actually at the window, and could see me. I was right out in the open, basically what I call out in my friend's front yard. I was just kind of out in the front yard, but down to the right a little bit, but everybody could see me. And so, I go to fire my rifle, and I call my rifle, I call it a pea shooter, but it sounds like a cannon when it goes off. The news media, they try to call the weapon that I was shooting, they try to call it a weapon of war. Well, if you could see the little bitty tiny ping holes that that this rifle makes in a piece of wood, and it's just a small 22. I know the bullets are a little bit larger and the magazines hold more. And like I say, but the rifle, it sounds like a cannon when it goes off. And that's one of the things I like about it. It's loud. It doesn't have a kick because, like I said, it's a 22. And like I said, it's not the weapon of war that the news media tries to convince everybody that, a rifle is. And so, I'd shoot like 3 times, go check my target, shoot 3 more times, go check my target, back and forth, at different distances and all. Because, I am an expert shooter. Being an expert, I want to maintain that status of expert. I'm extremely proficient. I mean, really, I can hit a flea on a dog's behind at 1,000 paces. I am that good. I am good enough to shoot competitively. I just never did, but I am extremely, very, very good. And because, of that, constantly like to practice. You know, have to shoot my ammo. You know, I just, you know, like to practice, especially now with what's going on in the world. You know, I want to keep these skills, you know, up to date. I want to make sure, you know, I'm still up on that, you know, upper level. So anyway, you know, I just, you know, I was out there about 30 minutes, and then I was going to switch over and shoot the weapon that I carry concealed all the time with me. And you know, I went out to the little ATV, or my wagon. I call it my wagon. I went out there and stepped over there, and I was looking for some more ammo for my pistol. And I'm like, oh man, I left my ammo back at the house. So, you know, I had to get in there and go back up the hill, go into the bedroom, and, you know, I'm unloading my pistol, because I actually had home defense ammunition in there. Very powerful home defense. It wasn't target, you know, ammo. So I'm up at the house in the bedroom changing out to target ammo. And, you know, so I'm doing that, and I'm, you know, feeding it in my magazine. I look out the window. Oh, and I'm like, man, way up top of the hill, looks like a deputy sheriff's car. Well, yeah, here it was. So I'm watching. Here comes two going down the back of my friend's house. Like I said, she owns 17 acres, but back at the back of the property, or towards the back, what used to be her brother's house has been sold, and now it's new neighbors that were originally inside the city. Now notice I'm saying normally inside the city, they've coming out into the county. That's what people are doing now. They're wanting to get out of the city and come into the county, and then they want to tell everybody out in the county what to do, how to live, and I don't like this, I don't like that. And my theory is go back to the city, you know. So anyway, so they go back there. The first car goes back, and a few minutes later, here come another car with two more deputies. I'm like, yeah, to go back there. So, you know, I finished loading up my pistol and going there, and you know, I told my relative it was with me. I'm like, you know, did you just see that? The deputy sheriffs are back there. And anyway, they stayed back at the lady's house about 20 minutes talking to her. And my thing is, you know, why did they bother to come down there to begin with? And, you know, so my relative said, well, remember, her husband works for the volunteer fire department, which is about 1.5 miles away. And so, yeah, the volunteer firemen, they know all the other firemen, plus they know all the law enforcement, you know, the sheriff's department out there in that area. So, yeah, they were down there talking to her. But that's, you know, was what, you know, I didn't understand, because I was not doing anything illegal. I've got, you know, copies of their the general statute for not only for North Carolina, but what the Orange County, what their law is. And I wasn't doing anything unlawful, so I couldn't figure out, you know, why did they come down here to begin with? And you know, then I look back over this paper. I'm going to read this to you. Their law is, it says, it is unlawful for a person to discharge a firearm except, here's the except, into a natural or constructed backstop adjacent to, adequate enough to stop the projectile. In other words, you can actually, you know, target shoot. Just make sure that you've got a natural or constructed backstop to stop the projectile. And of course, it's saying, you know, it's unlawful for somebody to be out there carelessly, discharging a firearm. And I think that's what the lady must have thought. She must have looked around and like, oh, it's nothing out here for anybody to shoot up against. You know, they don't know about, you know, my friend's property or what we've got set up. So she's, in her mind, you know, we must have been doing something, or I must have been doing something careless or whatever. But so I guess that's why the deputy sheriffs were coming down there, you know, so they could see, you know, what's going on, or if I was doing something legal, or you know, or if I'm out there just carelessly just shooting rounds at random, you know. And anyway, you know, I told my elderly friend, you know, what had happened. Said the sheriff's department's back there, and she said, well, you know, the lady's already, you know, it's heard us before in the past, and said she's concerned because she has children. I'm like, what has that got anything to do with it? The woman's got children. Do you really think I'm going to use her children as target practice? That's the mentality of these people. People don't like guns. Like, you know, my elderly friend, bless her heart, she doesn't like guns either because her brother, back in 1980, he was a wildlife officer. He was law enforcement, and he was murdered by 2 young hunters who were illegally hunting. And you know, she don't want anything to do with guns. She don't, you know, like these people running around with concealed guns. She's frightened. It frightens people, especially those that are running around with guns strapped to their hip, you know, exercising, you know, their rights, which, you know, I'm not crazy about that either. You know, I think the people that carry concealed, that's been through the classes, that's been through the background checks, that actually shoot targets and keep their proficiency up, I think they are the ones that are actually obeying the law. They are responsible citizens like myself. I'm extremely a responsible person. No games, no nothing. You know, I'm extremely responsible and take gun safety and things very, very serious. And so, like I said, you know, all I can do, you know, next time, because there's going to be a next time, because I'm going to go back and shoot this weekend. This lady just happened to have recently started working from home, so that's why she's hearing the gunshots during the day. It was before the children got home from school. It was like around 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the afternoon. Because, yeah, I know kids and all, you know, they keep them all fearful about guns and hearing shots and all, and, you know, shots fired, you know, the whole world goes crazy. But like I said, you know, I just think it was just, you know, it was just, you know, that mentality. You know, they hear a gunshot, call law enforcement. And like I said, I do not want to have any kind of, you know, law enforcement approaching me when I'm down on my friend's property and we are legally shooting in a safe manner against a large embankment. I don't need them getting out of their vehicles, coming down and approaching, you know, me, and I have a weapon in my hand. That's a bad situation right there. They could twist that and turn that around, you know, gun me down, and then say, oh, well, she did this, she pointed a gun at me, and she turned at me with her, you know, and just really make a bunch of garbage up. And that's another reason I'm doing this video. So you can say, hey, she's already pre-warned us, you know, here she's got her Bible scripture, she's got the law, you know, she's a responsible person, I know this person, I went to school with her, you know, I believe what she's saying, you know, so Lord willing, I never get gunned down like that by law enforcement. But no, I do not trust anybody, especially when somebody, like I said, those people, the lady that called, they're friends with those that are on the sheriff's department, and you know, so it's like they're there now, they've moved in, now they want to change all the rules, they want to violate my rights, and they want to twist and turn everything to suit them, and that's not the way that it's going to be. I mean, I'm a good Christian woman. I don't want to do anything to offend them. So next time, you know, before I do shoot, I did call the sheriff's department, by the way, and verify that all this was accurate. You know, I was legal. And the lady, it was a younger lady I spoke with, she said, well, what most people do in that area is before they shoot, they call the sheriff's department and say, hey, we're going to be out here target shooting for a little, over how long, you know, they think it is. So when neighbors do start calling, because like I say, people calling, shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. You know, they all run, jump under the bed. But they say, you know, that way when they call in, they say, hey, you know, the neighbors are, you know, legally shooting on their property. They've just called us to let us know that they are shooting. You know, don't panic. So that's what I would do next time is, you know, let the sheriff's department know that I will be target shooting, because I may be shooting again by myself, and I will, you know, knock on the neighbor's door and explain to her, you know, that I, you know, legally carry. I've been in law enforcement in the past, and you know, I've got to keep my skills up. I have to shoot. I will not be shooting toward their home or their children or whatever, but you know, this is something, you know, that I really need to do, like I said, to keep my skills up, because I've always shot, you know, down at my friend's house, and I don't want new people moving in, and all of a sudden, after I've been shooting down there for 30 years, say, well, you can't do that anymore because it hurts my ears, or I'm afraid you're going to use my kids as target practice, or, you know, some off-the-wall excuse. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, I'm not trying to be ugly about it. I know that a lot of people, they're just fearful of guns right now. There's a war going on. Another thing is the exact same hate, the exact same people, the exact same people, I'm going to say it again, the exact same people that have that hate in their heart for the nation of Israel are sitting right here in our backyards. They are in our neighborhoods. They're here in our country. And so, you have those that want to disarm everybody, and then you've got those of us, like me, we want to protect our homes and our families. That's important, And like I said, there's so much hate and all going on now. People are concerned about, self-defense and all. So, we don't need people trying to take our rights away. Not right now. We don't need our people trying to take our rights away. We have the right to protect ourselves and our families. So one of the things that bothers me about the law that's written out about the guns, it says, now listen really carefully here, because this is what I don't like about this particular law. It can lead to a lot of problems, and I'll explain it to you. It says it is unlawful for any person to discharge a firearm except, now listen here to the exception, except into a natural or constructed backstop adequate to stop the projectile. Okay, so you get that. So it's not giving any type of let me give you an example. Let's say that my paper here. Let's say that my paper is bulletproof. It'll stop a bullet. So if I've got this, out here in my field, and I'm shooting at it, okay, and this is, this circumference is all that I'm shooting at. Then someone like you would say, "No, wait a minute, that's not big enough, Even though this is bulletproof, it'll stop a bullet, and this is what the law says. As long as, there is a natural or constructed backstop. So this isn't an adequate backstop for somebody that can shoot and hit this, not throwing bullets, all around, but hitting the backstop. Okay, so that's what you get into if you start saying, now wait a minute, this is not big enough. You've got to have something larger. So that's where they've left it open. So if I'm shooting up against, like I say, a nice bank that is adequate, law enforcement has the right to come out there and say, I don't think that's adequate enough. So then you end up, in the courts having to get lawyers, and it has to go back to the lawmakers, who are going to have to rewrite the law and say, okay, now you've got to have like a 20 by 20 area to shoot in, so deep with so much steel backed in to ensure that this is going to stop the projectile. Then you have to start getting into specifics. That's what they did to the law. They left it wide open. So in other words, law enforcement, like I said, can come down here, I don't think that this embankment is large enough. You need to stop shooting. And so, see, then that becomes a problem, because, you're like, this is what, the law says. I do have an adequate backstop. Then they get angry, and then they want to take matters into their own hands. And that's when someone ends up getting hurt, because you've challenged them by showing them the law, and they get the attitude. And then, like I said, I end up getting hurt. So, like I said, I don't like the way the law was worded. It left it wide open for anyone in law enforcement to, pick and choose. And like I said, with them knowing the people who called and complained, they're going to be more out, to want to, tell me not to be shooting, and so it doesn't bother their friends, because I'm from out of town, and no one really knows me, so we'll just violate my rights and just to keep my friends happy, so to speak. So I hope this message has been encouraging to you. I hope it has been uplifting to you. I'm not trying to offend anyone, especially where guns are concerned. God bless. Stay safe.